Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. And another heavyweight news and notes smash-up video today, starting with Tony Yoka and Martin Bakole. So after a false start with a January 15th fight day pushback due to COVID and a brief flirtation by Tony Yoka with a Filip Hrgović final eliminator in the IBF, he is now back to fighting Bakole, and that's no huge surprise because the IBF said, no, you got to fight Bakole. That was already scheduled in terms of the contract being in place. Now rebooked 14th of May. And guess what? Yoka says it's personal.
He needs some milk.
So going to the translation, because I don't speak French, he says, I had a chance for a fight I've been waiting for years, but thanks to you, we'll have to wait again. May 14 will be personal at Martin Bakole. So it's personal, and Bakole, he's a little less dramatic, saying, see you 14th of the 5th at Tony Yoka at All-Star Boxing France. So they're the promoters of record. So yeah, this is a good fight, one that I think for both guys they need, because outside of final eliminators that both were offered at one point, they really didn't have too much going on. Since Bakole was dropped by Matchroom or wasn't re-signed after his contract ended at the end of 2020, it has been a little bit of, what does Martin Bakole do next? And the pandemic, that's seen Tony Yoka stick in France instead of going to the United States, fighting with Top Rank. Remembering he signed a co-promotional deal. We thought that he might be going to the United States to sort of build a reputation out there, but it hasn't happened so far. So this is a good sort of step for both guys. The toughest opponent for Tony Yoka to date in his professional career, Martin Bakole, building back from a loss to Michael Hunter 3 years ago. We're going to see where both these guys are really at. And for Tony Yoka, there's questions about, well, is the chin hiding some glass because we haven't seen it and really chin checked to any real extent? And for Martin Bakole, he's blown a little bit hot and cold. He's looked fantastic beating up journeymen. But then when he faced Sergey Kuzmin, he looked good at range, but then he looked a bit sort of average on the inside when he was looking to take a breather, letting Kuzmin into that fight. But ultimately, this is going to propel the winner onto something bigger and better. And for Tony Yoka, arguably, he needs a good performance here to really sort of assert himself back in the conversation with the best in the division coming up through the division. And for Bakole, he wants to prove, look, I've got, enough to contend for a heavyweight title and be a force in the heavyweight division. Both these guys a little bit out of sight, out of mind at the moment. So I like the fight. There's a lot on the line for both of these guys. Meanwhile, Tyson Fury, he's out in Dubai, and he's been talking about opponents not named Dillian Whyte. Obviously, he's been asked questions, he's answering them, but of Anthony Joshua, talking to Dubai iSport, when he was asked of Joshua and a potential fight with him at some point, he says, I'm not sure what to think about Anthony Joshua anymore. Quite frankly, nobody cares about him anymore, but I'll knock him out just for bants. Also on Oleksandr Usyk, and this is rather ruthless when he was asked if Usyk is tougher than Deontay Wilder. Hell no. What's Usyk gonna do? Tap dance around the ring and run away? He didn't do any damage at all to Anthony Joshua, and definitely ain't doing damage to me. I'll obliterate him. And on the subject of his next fight, interestingly enough, saying in that same interview, whatever I feel like on the night, really. I don't pay these bums too much attention. Any style, I can definitely beat Whyte. Even if I put one hand behind my back and 1 foot off the floor, I'll still beat him. So obviously, confident indeed. But the reality, the game plan, they will be planning for Dillian Whyte, and quite meticulously. So some of the stuff, obviously, is part of the promotion. And given Dillian Whyte's been quite quiet, and perhaps that might be his tactic to sort of not sort of draw out an all-out sort of verbal sort of sparring session with Fury publicly. And obviously, we've seen previously, Deontay Wilder for that third fight wouldn't be drawn in, wouldn't engage with Fury, and that did seem to irk Tyson Fury a little bit as he carried that press conference where Wilder was silent, had headphones on, wouldn't speak. And some of the chat from Fury, because there was no one to bounce off and sort of get enraged at his barbs, it sort of fell a little bit flat. So maybe Whyte is trying to mimic some of that then. He's obviously working hard in the gym for this potential for the shot that's going to be happening potentially April the 23rd. Venue and date still to be completely confirmed, but it does look like it is going to be Wembley. So Boxing Scene says it's learned that Fury's fight against Dillian Whyte will take place at that famed venue in London if the two sides reach a deal by the February 21 deadline set last week by the WBC. And as we know, Dillian Whyte had received his contract from the Frank Warren side, the Tyson Fury side, a day or so ago. So the story continues. Representatives for Fury, 33, Whyte, 34, are constructively working towards finalising contracts for Fury's mandated defence of his WBC belt against Whyte, a Jamaican-born contender who has long lived in London. And obviously that venue, if they can get 80 to 100,000 people, they're going to want to sort of really try to get as many bums on seats. They got $41 million in purses to make up, and obviously cuts going all sorts of directions, including to the TV companies. But just on an aspect of that, Dillian Whyte had been involving Ben Shalom in some of the recent negotiations, and Shalom, he has spoken to the BBC as re-reported by Boxing Scene, saying, "Myself and Dillian's team, we get on, we trust each other type of thing. They wanted a little support on that fight. I wanted to help out where I could. Obviously, I don't have any sort of animosity with the Warrens, and I'm very close with Top Rank. I think Sky can play a big part in the fight as well. It made sense that I could help where I could. Once the step aside fell apart, it was time to negotiate and see what was really the best deal we could possibly get for Dillian." And the story continues. Shalom has close ties with the decision makers at Top Rank, as Top Rank, like Shalom's boxer, provides Sky with boxing content. So he continues, "I talk to Top Rank every day. We obviously got the Josh Taylor fight coming up. I've got a very close relationship with Top Rank President Todd DeBuff, General Counsel Jerry Kogel, and the guys at Top Rank." Probably butchered that guy's last name. "Why I'm helpful is that I don't have any enemies and I get on with the other promoters. It's as simple as that. Obviously, there is a little bit of a standoff between Dillian's camp and Top Rank, and obviously Queensbury wanted to get the fight done as well. I was there to help relationships between the parties and get the best deal that we could for Dillian." And the story goes on to say Shalom mentioned that Whyte was not represented by his promoter Eddie Hearn of Matchroom Boxing in these particular discussions, as Hearn was committed to representing his other heavyweight charge, Anthony Joshua, who was reported to have been mulling a possible step aside that would have allowed Fury to bypass Whyte, yada yada yada. It does make you wonder though, with some of those comments and Dillian Whyte reaching out to Ben Shalom for support, where is Eddie Hearn in all this? And Hearn sort of commented, well, he's basically wherever Dillian Whyte wants him to be, that he's a friend of Whyte's, will help him out with whatever he wants. So his part in this sort of promotion could be as big or small as Dillian Whyte wants it to be. But with this relationship with Ben Shalom, obviously going to him as opposed to Eddie Hearn to try smooth things out, obviously animosity with Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn. I mean, Shalom, you never know with this fight-by-fight deal that Dillian Whyte is on, that he could ultimately go to Shalom. Could Dillian Whyte be seen on Sky Sports? Will he test the waters and see what his market value is, win, lose or draw in this upcoming fight with Tyson Fury? It certainly is a question. I mean, Hearn has been at pains to point out he's a good friend of Dillian Whyte and that they've got a really good relationship. But I guess business is business, and Whyte doesn't have any obligations because he's not signed on a long-term deal with Hearn. So he doesn't have to cut him a check for this upcoming fight because Hearn's not actually part of the promotional setup. He's not promoting the fight. So it's got to be interesting times, win, lose or draw after this fight for Whyte, because he might go, well, I could be the guy at Sky Sports and Boxer. Whereas obviously for a number of years now, he has played second fiddle at Matchroom to Anthony Joshua. Just something to mull over. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.